Ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand and join me in the pledge to our flag and country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Remain standing for our prayer. Pastor?
Almighty God, thank you for your work in the world and in this very city. Please watch over its leaders here tonight and bless this meeting. Show us ways in which we may love our neighbors. Wherever there is fear in our community, show us how to replace it with peace and hope. Wherever there is injustice and disparity, show us how to work towards justice and equality. And finally tonight, as Guthrie prepares to welcome hundreds of young people and their families to the Clay Tartar Memorial Cross Country Meet this weekend in the Flats, may we show them hospitality so that our town is their town while they are here, and may you keep them safe. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Nice plug for the memorial run. I open up our city council meeting of September 3rd. Second item on the agenda is public comments, community awareness, and recognitions. And we have one recognition or comment from Mr. Russell. Mr. Russell? Good to see you back.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you for last council meeting. Ms. Mills, congratulations, you look nice up there. So, starting my 5 minutes. There was some concern from some people that I were watching on Chris's live feed last council meeting on some comments that were stated when I wasn't in the room. So I took it upon, there were some of them were vets, and I took it upon myself to write something out to address those. And so here it goes. After the last council meeting, I had a lot of people watching Chris's feed reach out to me and discussed about some comments that were made about my service while I was outside the room. I went home and watched it for myself. To refresh everyone's recollection, there was some concern from Brian Bothroyd about why I hadn't run for city council in the past, to which Mr. Ropp stated in Doug's defense he was deployed for the year leading up to the election. Brian Bothroyd then went on to say how he went on business trips to Austin all the time and how if he wanted to serve, he would find a way to serve. It seemed as if he was comparing his trips to Austin to my deployment to Al-Assad, Iraq. So since you're familiar, Mr. Bothroyd, with your trips to Austin, I'll fill you in on what my business trips are like and millions of other veterans that have gone before me. To start with, you tell your loved ones that you're going on deployment, but all they hear is you're going in harm's way and the odds of you dying are going to go up exponentially. You look in their eyes and they see that you're excited, but they see you're excited on going on this business trip, but you see them beginning to process what your death will look like. You get your financial affairs in order, you get all your passwords together, you write out your last will and testament. You call your best friend and say, hey, if anything should happen to me, will you walk my daughters down the aisle and will you teach my son how to be a man? On the car ride to the airport, the radio doesn't play, you're in complete silence. Your wife and kids have tear bubbles at the bottom of their eyelids. You try and reassure them through jokes that everything will be just fine. You park at the airport, then it gets real for everybody. Tears start flowing. You hug and kiss them knowing that in this surreal moment, this may be the actual last time that you see the loves of your life. Simultaneously, you have the greatest honor beating in your chest that if you do die, you die a hero. When you walk through the TSA and you look back and you glance at them, you see the tears in the eyes and they're fighting the negative thoughts that they will never see you again, and their thoughts are winning. Brian, there are a few things that I can say that I'm more proud to have done in my life. One of those was going on a business trip on behalf of the American people. In my world, we call those deployments. There are three types of people in the world. There's sheep, sheepdogs, and wolves. In your world, you took your profession up as a sheep. There's nothing wrong with that. The men and women of law enforcement, military members, and veterans undertook the profession of arms, the profession of sheepdogs. We keep the valley safe. Criminals and those that do us harm, they took up the profession of wolves. We should never make the mistake of comparing ourselves to active duty men and women of the armed forces to our veterans when we have not done the same thing. Their business trips are not your business trips. On your trips to Austin, when was the last time you had to dress down so that a terrorist didn't know who you were? Because the mere sight of a U.S. Air Force uniform may incite a terrorist attack. When was the last time you went to Austin? You had to carry a gun to the dining facility because the foreign nationals may have a plan in place to kill you that day. When was the last time Austin, Texas had a smell of a burn pit? When was the last time anyone in Austin, Texas woke up to a robot yelling, incoming, 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 over the loudspeaker? When was the last time the C-Rams in Austin, Texas woke you up because bombs or mortars were on its way? And it was doing its your best to keep you and your coworkers alive. When was the last time your coworkers on a trip to Austin, Texas went running for their lives trying to make it to the bunker 100 yards away, praying to make it before the last bombs fell? In your world, you work in supply chain. In my world, we work in kill chains. We're not equal. Comparing your business trips to Austin, Texas to mine was disrespectful to me, my service, my family, and millions of other patriotic families and the men and women of our armed forces. You do well to remember that everyone comes home from supply chains. Not everyone comes home from kill chains. We are the peace of mind you curl up with every night. The electricity keeps your CPAPs running, your food in the bellies. We are on the heels keeping the wolves at bay. You are the sheep. To your credit, you are the leaders of sheep, but you're still the sheep. No matter what your political ambition, we should never disrespect the millions of veterans that have allowed us to stay safe in the valley, comfortable living and leading the other sheep. You were elected to serve with your reputation. I elected to serve with my life. You're concerned about people hurling insults at you. We are concerned about America's enemies throwing mortars and bombs at us. Every Tuesday night, you sit on the council and you say things. Several other Tuesday nights, me and my coworkers, we ran to bomb shelters. You sit behind a desk, we sit behind flag jackets. Again, you work in the supply chain, we work in the kill chain. As I stated in the interview 2 weeks ago, for this city council position, what happens on the local level is just as important, if not more so important, than happens on the state and national levels. This chamber should not allow politicians to diminish the roles our veterans play. In closing, Brian, you were right what you said. If you want to serve, you will serve. I served with my life. We're not the same.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. As we know, when the public has an option to speak, we listen, but we don't have a response for it. Appreciate your comment. Third item on the agenda is consent agenda A through P. Never had a consent agenda that large. A is the approval of the special city council minutes of August 20th. B is the approval of the city council minutes of August 20th. C is the approval of the renewal of Honor Park lease agreement between the city of Guthrie and the American Legion for 1 year. D is the approval of the civil defense siren maintenance agreement between the city of Guthrie and Goddard Enterprises. E is the approval of the agreement between the city of Guthrie and Logan County Services for temporary shelter of juveniles. F is the approval of EMS agreement between the city of Guthrie and Logan County Emergency District 1 Board of Trustees. G is the approval of the EMS agreement between the city of Guthrie and the North and East Logan County Emergency Medical Services. H is the approval of the professional services agreement between to serve as the medical director for the Guthrie Fire Department Emergency Medical Services with Dr. Robert Worden. I is the approval of the engagement letter with Crawford and Associates for accounting and consulting for fiscal year 2025. J is the paying of invoice number 221169-12 in the amount of $8,823.05 to Myers Engineering for Owen Field's softball facility upgrade. K is the approval of pay appointment number 2 for $38,593.75 to True North Contracting for also services for Owen Field softball facility. L is the approved paying of invoice number 224065-2 in the amount of $15,500 to Myers Engineering for services for the paint and refurbishing of the east and west side storage tanks. M is the approval of paying invoice number 224066-1 in the amount of $2,813.40 to Myers Engineering for services for the west side booster pump station replacement. N is the approval of payment of invoice number 224067-1 in the amount of $7,584.50 for Myers Engineering for the ADA Accessible Intersection and Sidewalk Project. O is the approval of payment of invoice number 224067-2 in the amount of $2,240 to Myers Engineering for services provided for the ADA accessible intersections and sidewalks downtown. And P is the approval of budget amendment number 2, which amends the budget for capital project fund for approximately $8 million. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
So moved.
Is there a second? Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Submit your votes.
All votes are in.
See the votes. Unanimous approval to approve consent agenda items A through P. Item number 4, items removed from the consent agenda. There were none. Item number 5, public hearing for the fiscal year 2025 budget for the general fund and miscellaneous fund. I open our public hearing. Eddie?
Yes, Mayor and Council, we've got a brief presentation tonight for you on the final budget. As is required in the Municipal Budget Act, also known as Title 11, Section 17, subsection 217, we are required to publish a notice of a public hearing not less than 5 days prior to the date of the hearing, and the date of the hearing shall be not less than 15 days prior to the beginning of the fiscal year. Notice of this hearing was published in the Guthrie News Leader on August 21st, which was for today's date, September 3rd. The draft budget summary is also available on the city's website. So at this time, if Aaron would throw my presentation up on here. On the screens here, we'll go through this relatively quickly. Not much has changed since we had the draft budget proposal. There are a few things I will point out for you. I've included the budget summary of all funds and the authorities, which was included in your packet. Also, a couple of notes I want you to know. Because we have not yet finished the collective bargaining agreements, those two agreements, once they are finalized, may require a budget amendment, will require a budget amendment, because we're going to be adopting the budget tonight with your approval. So keep that in mind. I will explain a couple of the things we've done to prepare for that as well. So that is in the budget that you'll be considering this evening. So jump right in here. As I just said, Title 11, Section 17-208. Notice was published, and it is available on the website. There is a list of our proposed revenues for the fiscal year 24-25 budget. I won't go through any of the line items individually unless we have a specific question. One thing I will point out is the total summation of all revenues, including all funds and authorities, comes out to $65,043,151. Is there any questions about all of our proposed revenues and/or interfund transfers? Great. Proposed expenditures. Again, you've got all the authorities as well as interfund transfers here on your expenditure sheet. Something I'll point out, the summation of all expenditures proposed for fiscal year 24-25 totals $60,180,820. So the revenues are 65. We proposed expenditures in the amount of $60 million. So when you take everything together, that's what we presented to you. There may be some line items that you see increases in, but at the end of the day, it is a net decrease. Any questions about this? A couple of independent or individual expenditures I do want to point out. One of the, as a result of the opioid settlement fund, we do have approximately $118,000 in funds that will need to be expended in accordance with the guidelines of the settlement. That is something we're exploring. I will tell you, City Attorney Wheeler, myself, and outside counsel Tony Puckett, we have been reviewing the settlement agreement thoroughly. And the uses that we can use that $118,000 of opioid funds on are extremely limited. So we're going to be exploring what we can do in terms of opioid education, prevention, community awareness, things of that nature. A lot of it is going to go towards the EMS department and how we respond to opioid calls, treatments, transports, et cetera. So we've got a couple of things we're working on in that fund that we have not finalized yet, but we will bring to you again at a later date. So just keep that in mind. That's not included here. And again, as I said, the total expenditures at this time does not include any of the contractually obligated raises outside of what was awarded via merit increases. So that is something, once council has voted to adopt and approve, that is something we will come to you with a budget amendment for. Any questions on the proposed expenditures for the upcoming fiscal year? Great, thank you. I want to take a quick step back in time to our city council retreat from June 18th. I want to look over the analysis, the SOAR analysis, and how it relates to the budget. So one of the primary functions of a municipality's budget is to meet the goals, the needs, the priorities that the city council sets for staff annually. So let's go over this SOAR analysis real quick, and then we'll talk about the results, the goals the council set at that city council retreat, and then I'll touch real briefly on how this proposed budget attempts to meet those goals. So revisiting our strengths, we talked about having the largest historic district, our proximity to I-35, our low crime rate, the parks and recreation opportunities available, the financial stability that we enjoy today that we didn't have not too long ago. Teamwork amongst the staff. There's not a day that goes by that one of us isn't mentioning Team Guthrie and how great it is. The housing diversity, the great schools, our school system. I'll talk about this a little later, but the bond issue that was just passed. It's amazing. It's amazing what's happening on the education landscape. The land availability, the political connections, festivals, events, the healthcare system, network opportunities, as well as the airport. Going over to opportunities, we talked about economic growth, our location being centralized in Oklahoma City Metro, I-35 access, rail, airport, multimodal transportation opportunities, access to undeveloped land, the shops, our retail incubator space, which has grown into revitalizing the downtown and moving tenants into brick and mortar locations, as well as leveraging federal funding available through the opportunities, again, one of which you will see this evening with the College Avenue Bridge replacement. Some of our aspirations, we talked about enhancing our amenities, road improvements, more parking downtown, building improvements, funding for businesses, encouraging retail, promoting retail, more occupancy, more economic diversity, increased walkability, job opportunities, and intergovernmental connectivity, improve relationships, county, city, etc. Some of our results, so we take all of what we just discussed, we talk about our results. Increase our emergency services, fire, EMS. Talk about tourism, how we're going to continue to increase our tourism, sales tax revenue, increase resident population, business development downtown, citizen engagement and participation. That's something that all municipalities struggle with. However, I will tell you, out of the cities in the metro, we have one of the largest participation rates, and that's something we should all be very proud of. Decreased crime, decreased retail leakage due to quality retail options in town. Again, we're seeing that with one of our strengths in the downtown that we've talked about for a long time is the small scale manufacturing, the mom and pop shops that set up and are very successful, the Ricks, the Pollards, coming up with the Happy Sandwich Co. Those things that are local people who have a business idea and run with it, that is what makes us unique in that downtown core. Improved downtown parking, and then building revitalization, higher occupancy, higher revenue, more city services. So what are our priorities? This budget, we continue to market Guthrie to fill the shovel-ready sites for retail and small industrial. We talked about the industrial park and how we would like to see options for smaller parcels, looking at maybe a business park, maybe a small-scale manufacturing, maybe it's an electrician, a plumber, an HVAC shop. Public-private partnerships. Maybe we sell 20 acres to a developer, or we enter a partnership with a developer for 20 acres to build out the infrastructure and have an agreement for retail or industrial recruitment, depending on what that looks like. Incentivize downtown development, such as possible through the facade grant, something we've talked about in the downtown core. Stay the course on our quality of life projects, the pool, one of those examples. Focus on the infrastructure needs. I think we've done that, and we continue to do that. So wanted to take a moment, revisit our priorities and how these tie into our budget, and hope that that paints a good picture for staff and the community on how we make the decisions that we make. Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Good. Are there any questions or comments by the general public? Which there are two.
Good summary, Abby.
As well as any other comments from the
Great
council?
job. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really good summary, and a lot of really positive accomplishments there. And some opportunities. Always opportunities. All right, I'll close our public hearing. Item number 6, resolution number 2024-18 is the adoption of the fiscal year 2025 budget. Any other comments, Eddie?
No, sir. This is the formal adoption of the general fund,
Okay,
miscellaneous
I'll
fund.
entertain a motion.
So moved.
Have a motion, is there a second?
I did have some comments
Oh.
I would like to make, if
Absolutely.
you don't mind. I read through the budget in its entirety, asked a lot of questions, had a lengthy discussion with city manager, and I just wanted to acknowledge that budgets are very complex. It's a very delicate balancing act, and I know that this staff has put in a lot of hard work on that. Just looking at the budget, like, to me, that just represents a lot of time and effort. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, just thank the staff for all that they put into that. And just having gone through it, I think that it does a good job of meeting the needs of our community right now, within the limitations and the challenges, obviously, that we have with any budget. So I just want to say that, and say that I have confidence in this budget. I think it's a good one for our city.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? We have a motion, waiting on a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Last thoughts? Submit your votes, please.
All votes are in.
See the votes. Unanimous approval then for Resolution 2024-18, which is the adoption of the fiscal year 2025 budget. Item number 7, renewal of the medical, dental, vision, life, and AD&D insurance.
I'm taking that
Eddie,
one.
you taking that? I don't
Yes,
see
sir.
this. Okay.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I'm subbing in for HR Director Botello this evening. We did receive our annual renewal for medical, dental, vision, life, AD&D insurance. We were originally quoted about 20% of an increase in premiums. I'm happy to report we got that figure down to just under 8%. So we were able to negotiate with our broker and provider, and we recommend approval of the package, which is in your agreement. Be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions by the council? I would say getting it from 20% to 8% is a bravo. Is
That's what
a
I said.
significant change. With everything else in this world going up, we can expect to go up, but keeping it to 8%, I think, is a huge win. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
Or a second? Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Submit your votes.
I'll vote Strand.
See the votes. Unanimous approval then to renew the medical, dental, vision, life, and AD&D coverage for fiscal year 2025, as stated. Item number 8, acceptance of the state and local cybersecurity grant, another success story. Eddie?
Yes, Mayor and Council, I should not be this excited about having software-based email, cloud-based email. I'm so excited. Mayor and Council, as you know, we've shared this with you a few times. Again, I want to commend the work of the staff, Jesse Bryan, and our consultant with GPS as well as the Oklahoma Homeland Security Office. This is a formality. If we could, we would like to make a motion to accept the grant in the full amount of $310,315.69, please. Be happy to answer any questions.
Does this grant mandate that we have an IT specialist?
It does not. So we submitted a proposal to fund an IT position in-house. So that was funded 100% for the first year. So this grant is available over the next 5 years, and we plan to reapply each year. We feel pretty strongly that we can be successful in that. Something I will share with you about bringing that position in-house. If you'll recall, prior to the interlocal agreement with Guthrie Public Schools, we were paying approximately $50,000 to $65,000 a year with NORPS LLC, and that was on an hourly basis, and it was really as needed. NORPS provided good service to the city for the time that they were here. However, we were able to get that agreement in place with Guthrie Public Schools, where we paid a flat fee, $35,000 annually. We had a provision in there for overtime if needed. Didn't need it. We were able to navigate throughout this last year without having to use that. So we cut our cost significantly with that interlocal agreement. I'll be honest with you, we need somebody here. We need somebody full-time, and the grant's gonna pay for it the first year. So we're gonna save the $35,000 the first year that we would be paying GPS. We hope to be successful in a new application next year. But if not, that's something we will plan for and be prepared. I'll tell you just one for instance, the software upgrades that we had with the new next-gen 911 system. Having dedicated IT staff who understand the intricacies of the things that go on with the dispatch software is important. And so that's something that we need to be prepared for and be ahead of. This grant does that. This grant enables us to do that at no cost to us for our first year. So $310,000, it's a big deal. $67,000, you look at that number and you think, Eddie, that's a large number. That's a total out the door, all benefits, health insurance, every payable that we have associated with that employee. The actual salary of that employee is anywhere from $40,000 to $50,000. So we've got benefits included in there. Yes, sir.
Is somebody from Guthrie High School coming over, or is this a new position we would hire?
So we are advertising for a new person. We're going to take applications from anybody interested and then fill it from there.
Cool.
It's not our intent to hire anybody. I don't know if Dr. Simpson would be very friendly with me. I still his employees.
Poaching his employee?
What are the educational requirements for the position that you're looking at?
The job description at a minimum is a bachelor's degree for the IT and information technology. And so at a minimum, that is one of the requirements.
Where did you get the salary range?
So we compared with what was being offered in the consulting market. And so we saw anywhere from $40,000 to $70,000 is what other municipalities were paying software companies that were doing consulting. So we tried to meet in the middle and compare with other in-house positions as well, and that's how we got there.
Last thing, Eddie, sorry.
No, you're
I
fine.
didn't think you, I bet you didn't imagine you'd have this many questions on this
Okay,
one.
that's all right.
What type of, when you says the manager and mayor to execute the agreement, what type of stuff do you think is going to be discussed in the execution of that agreement?
No, nothing that you haven't been made aware of. All the documents are in your packet.
Okay.
All we're doing is signing off to receive the funds.
Okay, thank you.
Well, it's such a critical arena now, cybersecurity, with all the things that are going on for a business or an organization of any size. This is a critical factor, and it's going to become more so. Just going to become more so. Kudos to you and your staff for finding the grant opportunity, number one, and then moving us along into our future steps. So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the $310,315.69.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? Submit your votes.
Alva Strand.
See the votes. Unanimous approval then to accept the state and local cybersecurity grant from the Oklahoma Office of Homeland Security for $310,315.69.
I know, I'm
Yeah.
figuring out where
Again.
the 69 cents came from.
Great job, great job. Item number 9, resolution number 2024-21, approving the May 30th, 2024 amendment to the 911 agreement for ACOG.
Yes, Mayor and
Eddie?
Council. Mayor, maybe yourself or Councilmember Rob can speak to this with ACOG board action. I will share with you what we know, which is, as a member of ACOG, we have to vote on the amendment to the bylaws, which was approved by their board of directors on May 30th, 2024. The placement of all those proposed amendments are provided in your packet, and they are in red. I will point out to you that the 911 ACOG agreement states that it may be altered, amended, or otherwise modified upon a vote representing more than 50% of the total weighted vote of a quorum of the board of directors, representing a minimum of any 6 entities. So just to add to that point, they had a minimum of a quorum at their meeting, and this amendment has been presented for your proposal, and we recommend approval.
Okay. Adam and I'm the primary, Adam is the alternate member of ACOG 911. They have been on the forefront of providing a 911 safety security system for all of the region. And I think that was presented to us, I think about
Months ago.
a couple months ago, and I think I know we have converted here locally so that the enhancements to being able to respond to an individual in crisis or an area in crisis has greatly improved. If you're in a building, they know, they can tell you whether the response is coming from the 5th floor, the 1st floor, or the basement. They can tell you within, I think, 10 meters or something like that, where you're calling from, whether you're using a phone or a landline, whatever. So great improvement there. Most of the changes that are recommended here are really kind of changes in verbiage, really not any changes in the substance of the 911 board or the policies or the processes. Do you have anything to add to that?
Oh, you summed it up really well.
And staff recommends approval too, so I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Submit your votes.
Alva Strand.
See the votes. Unanimous approval then for approving resolution 2024-21, approving the amendments to 911 agreement. Item number 10, State of Oklahoma Department of Transportation projects right-of-way agreement. Tenny?
Yes, Mayor, Council, run you through kind of the history of this project here real quick. The House of Appropriations Committee met on February 28th of 23 and released the fiscal year FY 2024 guidance for community project funding, also known as earmarks, as maybe some of you guys have heard it referred to as. Guthrie was informed on Thursday, March 2nd of 2023 that the deadline to submit the FY 2024 Congressional Community Project funding request was Monday, March 13th, 2023. I'll say several staff members collectively worked on this project, getting all of our requests turned in. I appreciate all the help that was provided specifically to this one for sure. Resolution number 2023-18, Comprehensive Bridge Replacement Project, was approved by City Council on March 7th of 23 and submitted to the Appropriations Committee along with multiple letters of support as well. On April 19th, 2023, Guthrie received notice from Congresswoman Stephanie Bice that she had requested $2,031,552 in funding for the replacement of our College Avenue Bridge. On April 14th, 2024, Guthrie received the official notice of the award of $2,031,552 to replace the College Avenue Bridge. The city's sponsor portion of this project is $507,888. We will utilize our street CIP funds for funding our portion of this project. The Department of Transportation and the city sponsor agrees that actual congressional delegated spending costs incurred by project phases may exceed initial estimates. Costs between these project phases will administratively adjusted based on the actual cost of each phase within the total cost of the agreement without formal supplemental agreements insofar as the total project agreement is not exceeded. To go along with it, just a little update as where we're at with this right now. We have went through the RFP process. If you recall, we've selected an engineer to start this process, which was Lochner Engineering, and the $64,168 is the design portion of that project.
Sorry.
Yes, sir.
Since we're on this part. So just to clarify, the reason why we don't vote in the entire bulk is because they're itemized, because each itemization might go up with later on. Is that why?
Correct, as we get further along in it.
Right, yeah.
And Adam, I will add that this is a little peculiar for us to pay it in phases. For example, the TAP project on Division Street, the sidewalk project, we paid our portion up front.
Yeah.
So with this project, we have to assume with the size and the scope of this project that the fact that the estimates may come in, well over budget, that we're doing this in phases so that we don't pay $500,000 and then need to pay another $200,000.
Yeah, I'm used to seeing when we get something 2 or 3 years ago and then something happens and it goes up. I don't recall ever seeing it itemized out. That's why I was just curious, which is a good thing. We're not, if one little piece goes up, it's not the whole thing. So just making sure.
Do you know how big the bridge, is it gonna be, I know what's now, but is it gonna be like wider than 2 lanes? For farm equipment, that's the reason why I'm at it.
The last meeting we had with Lochner, it was on site, and they were discussing 26 foot is
Okay.
what we were going to try to get in.
Okay.
Any other questions from council? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Submit your votes.
All votes are in.
See the votes. Unanimous approval then to approve payment of invoice number 36834-01 in the amount of $64,168 for the design of the College Street Bridge over the Cottonwood Creek. Yeah, great start. Another great project for the city. Item number 11, construction manager as contractor agreement. This is a approval or presentation of approval for an agreement between the city of Guthrie and Crossland Construction. Eddie?
Yes, Mayor and Council, before you is two different forms, standard forms of agreement, the AIA 133 2019 edition and the AIA A201 2017 edition, both of which have been reviewed by the city's consulting attorney for construction management services for the city of Guthrie on the second fire and EMS station and the Highland Park pool. Just to give you a quick background, City of Guthrie advertised a request for qualifications, construction management services in June of 2024 for Highland Park Pool and the second fire and EMS station. This agreement, Crossland was one of 6 proposals and respondents, scored the highest out of the 3 that we interviewed. At this time, there is no financial commitment or obligation on the city. Once we get through the design phases of both the pool and the fire station, you'll get amendments to these contracts, which include a gross maximum price, okay? So at that time, once we've been through the design, we've looked at the budget for each project, we've put the project documents out for bid, we've received the bids, and then we come back to you with the totality of the cost of the projects. You'll have the total breakdown of the funds, and you'll know what we're actually in on these projects for. This does include pre-construction services and their fee for that, but there is no fee for the 2 projects which haven't been designed yet. This time, recommend approval.
So we're just approving, moving ahead with the first step in the process.
Yep, the first step in the process, which includes pre-construction and design services. So we've approved the architect for the pool. We've had our first kickoff meeting with GH2 Architects on the pool. We are working to, through the contract documents, on the land acquisition for the fire station. And so once we have that property secured and acquired, we'll have a separate agreement with Guernsey Architecture for the design of the fire station. Once that's complete, then we'll have Crossland Construction at the table with us through the design, watching the budget and keeping us on budget in the design phase all the way through. And that's the main benefit of construction management. You know, traditionally, you design a project, you put it out for bid, and then you don't know until you open bids whether you're over or under your estimate. So the whole goal of having a construction manager is that they're at the table from day one, comparing the design with the budgets and the figures that they're seeing out there in the real world on their other projects. So yes, this includes pre-construction services, which includes the design of both projects.
Okay, any other questions from the council?
Great
Okay.
job.
I'll entertain a
So
motion.
moved.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second, any other discussion? All right, submit your votes. Unanimous approval then to move forward with the construction management contract agreement between the City of Guthrie and Crossland Construction for the second fire station and the Highland Park pool. Item number 12, interlocal agreement with the Guthrie Public Schools.
Yes, Mayor and Council, in connection with all the items you had on your consent agenda, this is the annual renewal of our interlocal agreement, which is retro to July 1 of this year. I will tell you, need to admit some fault here. With our fiscal year ending at September and GPS ending at June 30th, there was a little bit of a lapse in communication there. Did not realize the interlocal had lapsed at June 30th. We had it on for our annual renewal. So at this time, we're asking to retroactively renew this agreement to July 1 of 2024. No services were interrupted. This will remain in effect until we have a staff person here and ready to take over the duties.
Okay, questions from council? Entertain a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Submit your votes.
All votes are in.
See the votes. Unanimous approval then to move forward with move to approve the interlocal agreement backdating to July 1st, 2024 with the Guthrie Public Schools for the information technology services. Item number 13, city manager report. Eddie.
Yes, Mayor and Council, we've been awful busy lately, and so to give you an update and actually provide you some visuals, threw some photos up here. We've got a lot of projects going on. The Crissa Asphalt Overlay Project, which took place from Broad to Capitol, and then on Oklahoma, from Broad to Capitol, and then from Pine down to the junction there where Missy's is, and then on North Pine Street. So several things we wanted to show you we've been up to. Start with something a little fun, which is the annual City Hall Selfie Day, which is put on by OML and engaging local government leaders. So staff was actually more receptive to this than I thought they were going to be. I'll just be honest with you. I definitely thought we were going to get some pushback, and most everybody participated, so we appreciate their participation. So there's some more of those photos there. We hosted Congresswoman Bice last week, midweek. She was in town to visit Walmart and learn about Walmart Academy, which takes place here in Guthrie. Right after that, we had lunch with her over at the Guthrie Grill. Talked about our airport projects, talked about infrastructure projects, and continued our push for the congressionally directed spending. As you can see, we've been extremely successful. Thank you to staff and our team for our success in communicating those needs with the Congresswoman's office and in those applications. So I can tell you there are several communities that are jealous of the funding that we're getting through her office. So, in addition to Congresswoman Bice's office, we also attended the Select Oklahoma Economic Development Conference. Some of you may have seen some social media posts out there. Over 400 attendees, which is organized and facilitated by Oklahoma's Professional Economic Development Group. City of Guthrie was well represented. The shops was a huge hit. So out of the 400 attendees, Shonda gave a presentation to just over 100 folks. City managers, economic development directors, all kinds of people who were interested in, you can see it was a packed room down at the convention center. So all these folks who were interested in retail incubation. Retail incubators are hard to do and they're expensive. And we found a golden goose with the shops. So lots of folks were interested, had lots of questions, many compliments. So would also like to brag on Justin just a moment here. He did serve on a panel for Why Film Matters, a community perspective with colleagues from Yukon, Midwest City, the Oklahoma Film and Music Office, and then a private film producer. So, of course, while we were there, we got to run into our favorite cheerleader, Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell. It's always good to see the Lieutenant Governor. He's going to be back in town relatively soon. We're going to get him back to town.
Good.
So. Take a look at our projects in progress. If you haven't been out to Owen Field lately, that may not look like much, but that is some substantial dirt work that has taken place out there. This photo is about a week and a half old. You can't tell it, but there is a huge change in elevation between the road and the dirt work that you see taking place. So, excited to see this project take shape. This first phase is due to be completed October 8th. We'll be continuing to monitor the construction and visit with the contractor, make sure we meet that deadline. And also we had a pre-bid pre-work last week with contractors looking to bid on the next phase, which includes the construction of the fields, the parking lot, the new entryway, etc. So we had a good response, good turnout for that. It's exciting. It gives us a little bit of hope that maybe we'll come in under estimate. So we want to continue that trend of our projects coming in under the engineering estimate. Speaking of projects and estimates, this was the overlay project previously mentioned. Again, want to thank former staff and council members for their work on this application in 2022. To ACOG, Guthrie was awarded $625,940 to overlay the streets there that you see on your map. A large portion of that is on Oklahoma. The rest of it is on Pine Street. It is an ODOT managed project, so it was awarded to Rudy Construction. The bid came in significantly under budget. So we had 625 plus a 6% engineering, and the project actually came in at 565,982.40. So we came in 20% under budget.
Wow.
It's awesome. Again, we want to continue that trend, and if you want to see how good it looks, if you haven't been down Oklahoma, it has totally changed the look going down to the temple. So they do still need to take care of the striping, so we'll get some striping on there in the coming weeks and get that project wrapped up. So wastewater treatment plant, we're getting closer and closer every day to ribbon cutting and having council staff folks out. We're shooting for an October date on that ribbon cutting ceremony and a tour. At the same time, around that same time, we will likely offer tours of the water treatment plant as well for council members who may be interested. So again, huge project for the community. Glad to see this take place. These are generational projects when you look at the history of the wastewater treatment plant and how previous staffs and councils had to find funding mechanisms and put them in place to fund that construction. So, next thing I want to look at is the water towers and focus on how bad they look. So if you'll recall, at the last meeting, we awarded the bid to have these refurbished inside and outside. I had a pay application on today's agenda, actually 2 of those, I believe. This is what they look like today. I want you to see the tops, the bottoms, the ins and outs and uglies. It will not look like that when they're done. And that is something, anytime somebody comes to town, they see that. They see the water towers. The water tower is a sight. So again, another transformational project that we look forward to seeing completed. Division Street sidewalk improvements. We will be coming to the street committee, the CIP committee, and then lastly the full city council to talk about future ADA projects that were funded as part of the CIP initiative. The goal is that we have some continuity and some uniform in the way our intersections look. This is just an example. You know, we don't, where there's brick, we want brick. And we don't want to remove any brick. We don't want to change any of the landscape without making sure that we've protected the historical significance. So that is coming along. It is something we've worked on a few different design options, and we finally have gotten to a point where we've got a design option and a budget that we feel like we can bring to street committee, CIP committee, HPC, and get feedback and look for guidance prior to going out for bid. So, Highland Park Pool, as I mentioned previously, we had the kickoff meeting last week. GH2 came, I'm sorry, the week before last. GH2 came out last week, did some scanning of the pool, the bathhouse, and the chemical house, make sure they get all the correct measurements, do what they can, review everything. Right now we're talking about the design and the reconstruction. What does that look like? How big is the pool? How big is the bathhouse? Do we renovate in place? Do we try to accommodate ADA needs differently? How do we do that? So those are the conversations that are ongoing. I'll tell you, I think the pool looks better. The last 2 years it hasn't been used than it has in a long time based on the photos that I've seen. If you'll remember this photo on the left here where Tenny has taken his boot and moved the concrete out of the way. We don't have those problems now because it's not being used. So when you go out and you look at the pool, it really doesn't look that bad, but it hasn't been used in 2 years. So keep that in mind. Guthrie Public Schools, the bond vote, almost as close as our 80-20. They almost got there. 72.3% yes vote. I will tell you from a city perspective, we're already having conversations with GPS and ODOT about traffic control and traffic concerns for the new elementary school. So there's going to be an elementary school down there west of Heather Road, Sonic, northwest of Brahms and Sonic there. we want to get ahead of that conversation as early as possible. So that is something we're working on now to get ahead of that. Just a historical perspective here, 2019, they had a 19.3 participation rate. 2024, almost 23%. So, while it's still low, it's got significant. Was able to attend the red carpet premiere of the Reagan movie last week. Will tell you that's something that the Oklahoma Film and Music Office reached out. I was able to give a quick interview on behalf of the city of Guthrie. I gave a caveat and said, hey, I may be the city manager today, but I wasn't 4 years ago. I wasn't here when Reagan was here. This is all pre-Eddie. This is all staff members, community members. It was truly a Team Guthrie team, community team effort. So largely attended. Dennis Quaid was there. The governor, several state reps and senators as well. I will, real quick on the Reagan movie, I think it was projected to do $5 million at the box office this weekend, and final numbers came in of $9 million. So film critics have been pretty hard on the movie, but the movie goers have responded well. So as you know, a large portion of that was filmed in Guthrie. Upcoming events, Friday and Saturday, the second annual Clay Tarter Memorial Cross Country Meet will take place at Cottonwood Flats. We look forward to that coming to town, that event coming to town. We have several volunteer fire and EMS departments coming out to assist our department with the day. So last year there were several needs. It was really hot. This year we're prepared just as we were last year. Also coming up on Saturday, Saturday is a busy day. Also coming up on Saturday, 9 to 2 is the 11th annual community fly-in. Come out and hang out with the Vice Mayor, myself, Caden, airport tenants, airport board. Saturday, September 7th, that night, 5 to 9 p.m. is the final Red Brick Nights of the season, corner of Winston, Oklahoma. Saturday, September 14th, the Guthrie Road celebration will take place at Mineral Wells Park. It's 41st year of that. And then Saturday, September 28th, Midwest Lift Fest will take place at John Vance, and it is an afternoon event. This year they're benefiting the local nonprofit HCPC, so Helping Community Plaza Claus. So, and with that, Mayor, I yield back. Thank you.
Very good. Very excellent. Really nice summary of things that are going on that the whole city obviously enjoys and should be very proud of. So thank you and your staff for being a spark plug for making all of that happen. Item number 14, comments from city council members. Vice Mayor Geary.
Nothing for me, thank you.
Councilman Williams.
Exciting projects ahead and behind and completion and dreaming, and just appreciate all that.
Okay. Councilwoman Mills.
Just want to say I'm excited for this weekend for the Guthrie Fly-In and the final installment of Red Brick Nights this season. So,
Good. Councilman Taylor.
Thank you, staff. Man, you guys have really been working hard this week, so the last couple of weeks. I appreciate what you and Eddie and all the guys have done, all the places you've gone. It's fantastic. So thanks, everybody.
Councilman Bothroyd.
Yeah, well, I always have tried to stay on the forefront of honoring our military, our veterans. Anything that I said in a meeting through the interview process that was contrary to that, I extremely apologize for. Never meant any personal negativity towards anybody. Never meant to say that business travel is more important than deployment, because it definitely is not. Absolutely no question of that. I've got a lot of family in the military. I wasn't able to go to the military because of a bad knee. It's just the luck of the draw. But I would never, ever intentionally try to diminish anybody's character in the military and our armed forces, our veterans, whether currently deployed or past. And I really, truly apologize for it. Just let you know that.
Councilman Rob.
A lot of excitement going on. I'm really happy to see all the projects actually coming to fruition. You know, you can physically see it instead of just on paper, right? And also, you know, regardless of the way you vote, you know, 22.8% is not a high number. And I know most people don't care what I think in town. But I would encourage everybody to please, as much as you can, make the time, do your civic duty, and please vote. Again, regardless of which side you're on the issues, 22.8, I think we can do a lot better. So with that, I will kick it back to you, Mayor.
Okay. We do have some opportunities. We have some openings in a number of our boards and committees. You go to the city website and it will identify those. We have Board of Adjustment. I know we've got library board vacancies and I think planning. But please take a look at that. Get engaged. We have great engagement in our community already. We know that. And we're going, I mean, just what Eddie and staff have presented today, look where we're going. Look what we're doing. It's great to be a part of. And so I asked the viewing audience, this is your opportunity to get engaged even more directly, to be a part of the process. And your input means a lot to the citizens and to this board. So get engaged, if you will. And I am a veteran. And I have worked with Councilman Bothroyd for 8 years, I think, on 9 years on this. He is a veteran supporter. I don't know exactly the comments that were referred to, but I can tell you in all of my dealings with Councilman Bothroyd, there has been huge respect, admiration for veterans of our community. The fact that we are a Purple Heart city. The comments, I know that Brian has been very supportive of things that the American Legion and the VFW do here and the various activities that they do. He is and respects and honors veterans. I'm sorry that didn't come across to some, but clearly from my perspective, that's what I see and hear in the 9 years that we've worked together. Item number 15, proposal to go into executive session pursuant to discussion of negotiation with the Fraternal Order of Police, negotiations with the International Association of Firefighters, and our annual review of the contracts that we have with the city manager, city clerk, city judge, and alternate judge, and the city attorney. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Submit your votes. Let's see the votes. Unanimous votes to move into executive session. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be gone for a while.
My wife. We go somewhere, she's like, I gotta take my coat and go watch it. I get the quarter coat. And I go, what? Take your coat when you're sitting down in a restaurant? Oh, Mayor. Oh,
I'm sorry. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to return from executive session.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. Submit your votes.
All votes are in.
See the votes. Unanimous to return from executive session. Item 17, employment of city manager.
Your Honor. Your Honor, I move that we continue the employment of the city manager, Mr. Eddie Faulkner, under contract with amendments that will be agreed to, written into the contract, and executed by the mayor.
Second.
Motion and second. Submit your votes.
All votes are in.
See the votes. Unanimous approval then to continue the contract for Eddie Faulkner as city manager with amendments to the contract as agreed to in executive session. Item number 18.
Your Honor, I move that we continue the employment of the city clerk treasurer, Kim Biggs, as agreed.
Second.
Okay.
Have a motion and a second.
Okay. He does.
And a second. Submit your votes.
All votes are in.
See the votes. Unanimous approval then from City Council to continue the employment of Kim Biggs as city clerk and treasurer. Item number 19.
Your Honor, I move that we continue the employment of the city judge, the Honorable David Hood, and the alternate city judge, the Honorable Julie Kelly. Once again, I will note for the council's recognition that Julie was my prom date, so.
And was Judge Hood your supervisor?
You got a second?
Have a motion and a second. Submit your votes.
All votes are in.
See the unanimous to continue the employment and existing contracts of Judge Hood and Judge Kelly. Thank you very much
you,
for
Judge.
your services.
Thank you.
Thanks for staying here all night, too.
And item number 20.
Your Honor, I move that we continue the employment of the city attorney under the memorandum of understanding that we currently have with him.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Submit your votes.
All votes are in.
See the votes. Unanimous approval then to continue the memorandum of understanding with the city attorney. And with that being the last item on our agenda, our city council is adjourned. Don't go away. So I'd like to call to order our Guthrie Public Works Authority meeting of September 3rd. Second item on the agenda is consent agendas A.
Your Honor, I move for unanimous consent to just waive the reading of the consent agenda's items and just acknowledge that they are as published.
Second.
Second.
And the mayor appreciates that. I will ask for then a motion to approve the consent agenda
Move to
as
approve the
listed.
consent agenda.
Okay, second.
And motion and a second. Any discussion? Submit your votes.
All votes are in.
See the votes. Unanimous approval of the consent agenda items A through J as submitted. Item number 3, items removed from the consent agenda. There were none. Item number 4, public hearing on the 2025 budget. This was what was discussed and presented at the city council. Do you have anything else to add?
Nothing to add,
Okay.
Mayor.
All right. Well, I open the public hearing. I have to ask if there's anybody in the public that wants to ask any questions. Hearing none, I close the public hearing. Item number 5 is the resolution number 2024-19, which is the adoption of the 2025 budget.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of Resolution 2014-19 adopting the FY 2025 budget.
Second.
Submit your votes.
All votes are in.
See the votes. Unanimous approval then to approve adoption number 2024-19, which is the adoption of the fiscal year 2025 budget. And item number 6 is the renewal of medical, dental, vision, life, AD&D insurance, as was presented at the city council. This is a confirmation of that.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the renewal of the medical, dental, vision, life, and accidental death and disability insurance.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Submit your votes. See the votes. Unanimous approval then to renew the medical, dental, vision, life, and AD&D insurance for the city employees. That being the last item on our agenda, Public Works Authority meeting. We are adjourned. Thank you very much for your patience, ladies and gentlemen.